guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here with Yacine, and we're gonna be talking about all the meta decks during a series for this format and comparing them to each other and seeing kind of how they rank and how favorable the matchups are compared to each other. And today we're gonna start out with Yummy and seeing kind of like what matchups does it have against K9 Vanquish Soul, K9 Crystron, Dragon Tail, Malice, Mitsurugi Riseal, Lunalite, Memento, and also Sky Striker.
Yes, sir. How's it going, guys? I'm really honored to be here. Thank you very much for having me on your channel, Julien. This guy's the GOAT, man. He's going to Worlds twice. Like, come on. It doesn't get any more badass than this. And, of course, he's been putting in a lot of time and effort into the format. So I'm sure this is going to be a really thoughtful matchup analysis. And I'm looking forward to the series. And exactly as Julien just said, we're going to be starting off with Yummy, which I think is a very well-versed deck into the format. I mean, it has the ability to play like 17 whatever starters. Technically, you can play as many as you want. Like, if you want to play like extra starters, like more copies of Engage, P-Race Map, Prosperity, etc. But it can also play a huge amount of non-engine. And also, people just keep figuring out new ways to, I guess, streamline the deck even further by potentially cutting the Croaky field spell. That's what Triff has been trying to do. And I mean, it's been working out for him. So yeah, I think Yummy is a deck that is very flexible. And because of this, it's very easy for Yummy to have a lot of good matchups into the format. It doesn't really have too many silver bullets. So what do you think about this, Julien?
Yeah, so mentioning silver bullets, I think that it does have like a big one, which was the fact that when you out the field spell, all your guys are like tiny forever if you get Spanish. So there definitely is ways to play around that, like just by playing two minion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, so if we go down the line of matchups, I do think that it has a pretty like rough matchup into Dragon Tail. Like I'll just start by like probably what is the hardest matchup because that deck um sets up like if they're able to play on your turn, they set up a bunch of set cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which this deck doesn't really have a way to out. Your main ways to out things are Book of Moon, making a Herald, you know, that kind of stuff. The only way you can like remove back row actually is SP or a Croaky. And if you're now you're cutting a Croaky to play two minion, it actually does make that matchup a little bit worse. Um, but I don't expect Dragon Tail to be that popular of a deck. Just in the field, like if you go to an event, I don't expect like more than 10%, probably even less of the people there to be playing that deck. So yeah.
I couldn't agree more, actually. The issue with Dragon Tail is that it has consistency flaws. Like, if we look at the amount of starters, there's 3 Lucius, 3 Mululu, 3 Ketu, and 3 Rahu. Obviously, these 12 cards are fantastic if you draw them in tandem with more Dragon Tail names like Pan or Gula, which, by the way, if you fuse turn 0 with 5 mana using these two, it's pretty hard to lose. And you're going to have to put in the effort. Like, you're going to make an Altharion that can bounce back too, which could be your own cards. And then you're also setting Flame and Horn, and then you're destroying a monster and destroying a spell or trap. So this is exactly what you were referring to when you said, like, it's really tough for Yummy to kind of deal with a turn 0 5 mana. And it's also very tough for Yummy to deal with a turn 0 Winda, because they can fuse for Winda when you
Yeah.
activate Obedience Cooled. And, it's kind of a wrap, I'm not gonna lie, because there's gonna be one Winda on the field, and if your opponent doesn't actually trigger the effect of the Dragon Tails to set some spells and traps, he's playing around Yummy's Surprise, which I think is more relevant than what we're giving credit for. So I think Yummy's Surprise could be like one of the ways for Yummy to deal with like turn 0 trap cards, but then you still have to deal with those cards eventually. But if you can grind better than your opponent, if you can reduce your opponent to like a simplified game state, it should be doable for you. But I think the main edge that Yummy in particular has against Dragon Tail is just the fact that Herald of the Arclight makes it so that when they try to fuse from the hand or deck, the materials get banished, and the Dragon Tails do not get any value off of this. So this is one of the best applications for Herald of the Arclight's continuous effect. It's really just the fact that you're completely crippling down the fusion mechanic, which of course this deck heavily thrives off.
Yeah, totally. Like honestly, if I ever put up, like when I put up my Herald, if I'm against Dragotel, my Herald is like no moving. It's literally gonna stay on the field the whole time. Like its plan is no longer to be in the gate. Its plan is to be like a semi shifter.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
okay, we're gonna make sure all your stuff gets banished and there will be no triggers. Like none of that.
Protect
Yeah.
the castle turbo, man. It's more of like a Dark Law than it is like a Cyber Dragon Infinity. Like you don't care. You
Yeah.
want to you want to activate Shadow Fusion? It's fine. It resolves. I'm not trying to trade one for one. You're just gonna use a second one on me. So yeah. By the way, speaking of
Yeah. No.
which, what do you think personally of the going first Dragon Tail and the going second Dragon Tail versions? Which ones do you think Yummy has the easiest time against, and also which deck do you think is like the most correct going to this format?
So for your first question, I definitely think that Yummy actually has an easier time to the going first version. Because I think that the going second version has just um like Yummy sorry, Dragon Tail can break the Yummy board easily. If you're able to bypass the Herald, right? Which if you are playing a going second version, you should have like a lot of outs to Herald. Um and like you said, right? Pan, arugula, just non-target pops is really strong,
Hmm.
and Yummy's board is really good at dodging targeting removal. But when it comes to non-targeting removal, it becomes a lot more weak,
I
right?
agree.
So I definitely think that the second version is actually really strong. Like in that matchup, like I wouldn't ever choose to go second as Yummy, but I like against like the average deck, not just the going second version. Against that one, I might choose to go second, right? But I wouldn't choose to go second. But I'm like, oh, I don't want to go first against that deck. Like it's kind of because its end board is like it's not that crazy, you know. It's like one
Yeah.
Ethereum, two traps.
I think it depends on the card quality. Like if they've got like Lucius and two Dragon Tails, then you're in a really rough spot because they can make like
Yeah,
seven disruptions. That's like it goes from like a mid-range kind of fear deck to like a completely degenerate deck that just FTKs you. Because now there's like Hieratic Seal, they get the Mululu Negate, the Altharion Bounces, the Gramel Pop, the Horn and Flame, the Urgula, the Pan. They get literally everything in rotation, and their follow-up is ridiculous. I'd argue that Dragon Tail's follow-up might actually be one of my favorite out of all the Justice Hunters decks. It's really unique, but it's like an infinite grind game where when you're hurting your opponent, you're helping yourself out in the process. It's
yeah, yeah.
it
It's really cool. It's really cool how you get to bounce your cards to your hand, and none of them, except for Malulu, are light or dark. So Bishos like never really hurt you.
exactly, yeah. And one thing I was gonna say is if you've got, let's say, Ash and Dominus Purge, what is your approach against Dragon Tail? Do you use them as hand traps or do you use them as board breakers for the trap cards?
I think it heavily depends on your hand, right?
Mhm.
If my hand is like full of board breakers, like if I have Ash and then I have very important spells, like low key, I'm not ashing anything, right? Because then like ashing the bounce spell is just like that's not the bounce, sorry, the other one, flame, I believe, right? Ashing flame, which is the spell negate, is really important in Yummy if you play board breakers, which is what I've been doing, or
Mhm.
even just not even board breakers, like obedience school needs to resolve. If they negate your field spell, like you're cooked. So
Yeah.
so I think stopping this like flame specifically as Yummy is really, really important. So everything else is like removing bodies like one by one. But I played three thrusts, I played three obedience school, played three droplet. Like if I draw those cards, that's how I win the game.
Yes,
Right? So I need those
Droplet
cards to resolve.
Droplet allows you to dodge Flame, which is really cool because it's kind of like a Hot Red Dragon or Sweet Abyss. It has to
Mhm.
negate
Yeah.
by targeting. So that's a really nice interaction. That I think that's pretty cool. Apart from that, I mean, the Horn, it's very easy for you to dodge it. It doesn't really do anything against Yummy. I feel like you just go Obedient School, summon three monsters. But obviously, if you normal summon a monster, it's not really the anime where you can normal summon in defense. That would have been kind of nice. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
yeah, fish, fish.
Yeah. Apart from
Yeah, I
that,
mean this card's really easy to play around. Just because the only way you can't play around it is just when you normal summon. That's the only
yeah.
way you can't play around
But I
it.
feel like that's one of the big flaws of the Yummy deck. Like normal summon a monster, Book of Moonet, it really reduces you to did you draw Engage Hornet or Obedient Schooled, and that's something
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people have been trying to fix. And I have watched one of your most recent videos concerning Yummy where you went over P race map. It was a really
Yeah.
interesting approach. I think your arguments were really strong actually, because I do recognize Cups Yummy as being significantly better to draw than anything else. And you also did mention that against a deck like Vanquish Soul, which is going to be our next point of discussion, you don't really want a card like P-Race Map, and which this brings us to our next point. How do you think life points management is important against a deck like Vanquish Soul when you're trying to grind, when you're going first? Are you scared of life points, or are you scared of the board pressure that they can apply? Like, what is your main priority when establishing a board against Vanquish Soul?
So, in terms of life points, when I'm going first, I'm not too worried. Just because, like, if I'm comboing, like, if I activate it and resolve PRS map, that means I got Cupsy and I got Surprise. You know what I mean? Like, I have the nuts now.
Hmm.
If I if I didn't get to activate Obedience School, sure, that's whatever. Actually, I probably prefer to not activate Obedience School if I have like a lot of engine in my hand too, because then I can like not be beast locked. But yeah, so I'm not too worried about it because I know that Vanquish Soul can't really play through my disruption without like non-engine like board breakers. But also the other thing is that Vanquish Soul can't really play board breakers because they have to play all the attributes.
Hmm.
So I'm yeah going first. Like I'm not gonna let them establish a border. I'm not gonna let them establish a trap. If they do get the border and the trap, that's 3-3. I still have 700 life points. The border is not sticking to the next turn, right? So it's like at the worst case scenario, they probably can get me down to 700, but they're not getting further than that. Like I'll have a
Hmm.
herald, I'll get another herald on their turn. I'll have double book of moon pop, all that stuff. Like Cookie's gonna come back, kill some guys. Like yeah.
Yes.
So I would feel pretty good going first into that deck. Going second is where the issue like arises for me. Just because the trap and Caesar are probably like the most annoying thing. Like I showcased some replays of me playing against this deck, and whenever I opened, I was playing like my board breaker hand trap like mixed version where it's mostly board breakers, but then it's like Moltramis and Ash Blossom and Imperm. And the goal when you open the hand traps is hand trap the Vanquish Soul cards and hope that that's all they have. Because the K9 cards are easy to board break, super
Yeah.
easy. The Vanquish Soul cards are layered. There's, the trap
Holy
that's in one
Su.
place,
Yeah.
spawn trap. Yeah, there's monsters that's in the monster zone. And then there's cards in the hand.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
can't really break it all at once. So and then the reason why Caesar and the trap are annoying is because this deck gets a lot of follow up, right? And so if they're able to stop your battle phase, and there's two ways for them to stop your battle phase. There's pop minion with Caesar, and there's the just holding the trap until battle phase.
Hmm.
They're able to do either of those things, and you can't physically remove their bodies from the field. Like, how are you gonna interrupt them when they start their turn with 3 bodies? Like that game becomes like unwinnable at that point. And so like my philosophy in that deck is you need to open 2 spells at least. Because if you can open like a field spell, hard open a field spell, then you can like use a croaky to to force their trap. Or if you have surprise,
Yeah.
like an extra surprise, you can save it and use it. It's literally funny. It's like your field spell just like jumps in and out.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, like, you want to destroy it, sure, bounce back from the grave, activate again. That's like one of the only things you can really do because honestly, this deck looks like it's too good at surviving OTKs. I think that's like the main issue that Yummy deals with usually is because when they're trying to go second, they're going to burn through a lot of resources just trying to like navigate through the disruptions, and then they gotta go for game. But obviously, without the field spell, I mean, your deck doesn't really do much of anything, unfortunately. So you're pretty much gonna have to start relying on the Akroki to destroy. That's the reason why, a lot of people are still reluctant to cutting the Akroki. Again, Triff's build is on a whole other level, but he does rely on hand shops, so it's just it's hit or miss at the end of the day. And I feel like that's kind of like the key takeaway of the hand shop approach. But also, you can argue that the board breaker approach for Yummy is equally as hit or miss because it's not going to be good against some other decks that we're going to be looking into very soon. But yeah, so in other words, with Vanquish Soul, I mean, if you go first, I feel like you're fine because they're gonna have to rely on some nasty hand shops on turn zero like Holy Su because fortunately for Yummy, and yeah, we should have mentioned this probably before, but this deck is completely immune to Izuna, and if you play your deck
Yep.
smart, you are never giving more than one draw to Pearlia. And that's assuming that you have to normal summon. There are some combos where you give 0 draws, Hornet, Obedient Schooled. You have no business giving any draws. And also, this deck is very good into Droll, which I feel like a lot of people don't really understand too much because they feel like this deck needs to search twice in order to, play the game. Like, it has to search with the Cup C to search the Yummy Surprise, and then it has to search with the Cup C Yummy Way in order to get 2 monsters. So they feel like Droll is still kind of a problem potentially for them, but I disagree because there are ways to get both the Cupsy search and the Cupsy Yummy search at the exact same time. The way to do this is by using the minion to revive back the Cupsy, and then you chain the Link 1 to quick sync into Cup C Yummy Way, and then you go Chain Link 1 Cup C, Chain Link 2 Cup C Yummy Way, and then you search 3 cards at the same time, and then you get drilled, and you lose absolutely nothing in the process. So
You're like, okay.
you literally benefit off of it because now you chain
Yeah.
the Cup C Yummy Way to provide 2 monsters, you make a Lollipop, and your board is arguably better. Like, thank you actually for hand trapping me. I appreciate it. But yeah, Yummy really, it's a deck that really benefits off of people playing the wrong cards against it. But I will be fully honest and transparent here. If Yummy ever becomes tier 0, quote unquote, which, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh is always going to be diverse enough to the point where that's not going to happen. But if it ever becomes tier 0, this deck is ultra easy to bully. And I think this gets us to our next point. If you're playing any of these decks right here, which cards would be like the main cards that you're looking for to beat Yummy, you know, consistently, and just Yummy and nothing else?
I think Dark Ruler is a really good like way to start. Like Dark Ruler slash Book of Eclipse. Although Dark Ruler is probably a little bit stronger, just because like if they already have an established Herald, like all right, cool, you know, negated. And then like the way they play around that is with Surprise to summon back something. So if you have Dark Ruler plus any other breaker, it's over. Like they can't play through any 2-card combo of breakers pretty much. Right? Like same thing with Eclipse plus Droplet. Like they can't beat that. So it's like any 2-card combo of breakers like breaks their whole board, which then makes it like if we're in a format where you can afford to play that many breakers in your list, right? Like obviously like you can always play that many breakers in your list, but then you lose to other decks. So it's like, is it worth it? If it's worth it to do so, then Yummy like can be in a bad spot in like the meta. So, yeah.
That is true, but I was actually going to say, I think Yummy is somewhat inherently resilient to Book of Eclipse just because Herald can negate it, and then Forbidden Droplet is also somewhat resilient because you can't send the monsters from the hand. It's going to have to be from the field, and also, yeah, sure, you can say, you can send spells and traps, but, you know, it doesn't feel as good. And also, it'll just get negated by Herald at this point. So I think Yummy is actually better into board breakers than we think, and exactly as you said with Dark Ruler, Surprise is the way you recover from that. But I think one thing that we should mention here is that even though board breakers, they look like they're generic, not every deck out here can or will play board breakers. Like Dragon Tail, for example, it's now playing board breakers. It's not playing green cards. It's playing orange cards in its deck.
Because only monsters. Only it needs all the monsters.
Exactly. It needs all the monsters because otherwise, you know, you're not fusing. And if you're not fusing, you're not playing. Spell cards, you know, they look nice and all, but they also just do play into some of your opponent's disruptions at times. So against Yummy, you can afford to, against Dragon Tail, you can afford to be a little greedier into the board breakers because you know for a fact that they have deck building constraints and it's not the kind of thing they can do easily. Against Vanquish Soul, exactly as you said before, they have to play
same thing.
Same thing. They can't play the board breakers. They have to play the conventional, you know, not even the conventional hand traps, the attribute hand traps, the fire, the darks, and the earths. So the earth would be Zuna, the fires would be Ash, and the darks would be DD Crew as well as Bestials. I've been seeing them quite often in Vanquish Soul, and it feels a little awkward when you have to play cards that you don't really want to play just because they're attributes. You know, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like playing a Dogoran or a Kurikara in the main deck and not even being able to search it. It's just like, whatever, if I draw it, it's an attribute, who cares? Like, sure, if you play Heat, that makes sense, but yeah, I don't even know, bro. But yeah, I think these two matchups, whatever, we kind of went over them, and then Crystron, we're gonna go over it real quick, because to be fair, this deck is very similar to Vanquish Soul in the sense where it has the same strengths in terms of the K9 engine, but it's also a different deck because it can do something that I think Yummy seriously struggles with, and I'll try to let you guess what I'm referring to.
Like it can play the K9 cards, but it can also play like board breakers, right? And just like it's very resilient to disruption, but also can play a lot of non-engine. Like it's actually like low key. This deck is kind of crazy.
Hey, Crystron best deck
for me.
Hell yeah, man.
Crystron, I don't know. I mean, Yacine knows. Yacine's the Crystron goat.
Wait, I didn't say anything.
That's all I said. I said it. But anyway, so like yeah, so this deck you can like low key, high key play like 17 non-engine, right? Which is like Yummy can play. Okay, Yummy if you're being like hella greedy can play like 21 if you're being reasonable, it can play 19.
Yes.
This
Yes.
deck being able to play up to 17, maybe 18, that's like so strong when it's engine and its end board are crazy.
Actually,
Like they're crazy.
I do want to add to your point. You just mentioned that the deck, if it wants to be greedy, it can play, you know, whatever 22, etc. I think one really interesting card that Yummy can tap into in order to up the engine count, the non-engine count, without necessarily making the deck worse, would be Widow Anchor, because this card doubles down as a it allows Engage to double down as a starter and as a non-engine. So you would essentially have, you know, 4 extra non-engines in your deck just for playing 1 extra card. And I think this is something that people don't talk about too much. A lot of people right now, they're underestimating the power of Engage. Some people are playing 1 Engage, 2 Engage, and then, you know, very minimalistic package. What do you personally think of Widow Anchor? Do you think it's a card that people should be main decking in the Yummy deck, or overall a smaller Sky Striker engine makes more sense?
I think that it comes down to like a very simple science. If you're playing hand traps in Yummy, I wouldn't play Widow Anchor. I'd play like a slightly smaller Sky Striker engine. Because you don't want to have like one breaker with your 20 hand traps. Like that one to me doesn't make too much sense. If you're playing a board breaker build, then I think that you should play that card. In my board breaker build, I actually before like people are like, wait, you don't play that card. I just added it. It was a mistake. Okay, I wasn't playing it. I put it back in. So yeah, so I think that like you should be playing that card. If you're playing board breakers, like you're now gonna be playing like you know half your deck board breakers. If you're playing mix of hand trap and board breakers, you should still play that card. This card pairs super well with droplet. Just like if you have this plus droplet, you can hit like every card on their board. And then it also allows you like a lot of time if you don't play this card and you have either double engage or you actually just double engage, or even you want to add back off of Kagari. Like you're like, oh, adding back engage will have more value than summoning a token, right?
Mm.
And now you have 3 spells in your graveyard. You can draw. Like drawing is broken, especially when there's board breakers in your deck.
Yeah, it does come up if like you get turn 0, I don't even know. I was gonna say like Holy Sue, and then you droplet it, and then you thrust into Talent. That's already, you know, a lot of spells in your grave, and then the engage is live.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna. But it's interesting how you mentioned that you think that Widow Anchor is good in a board breaker build, but a little less good into a hand trap build. And although I can definitely see where you're coming from, I do believe that there is still some merit to playing 1 Widow Anchor and 3 Engage as your, as your only board breakers in a full hand trap approach, because the hand traps, the way I see them personally, is they're not supposed to necessarily just be cards that turn skip the opponent completely. Very often, you're still gonna have to deal with a half board, and I think Widow Anchor is very good into half boards. Like, if your opponent just makes Detonator Pass, Widow Anchor is amazing there, or like Baguska Pass, whatever, even though that's not the best example. But you get what I'm trying to say? I think just the flexibility of being able to turn Engage into a Widow Anchor to negate the one threat that your opponent was able to make through the hand traps, I think that's enough for me to justify wanting to play Widow Anchor in honestly any Yummy build. But to be fair, you know, it's up to personal preference, and it does depend on the context of the metagame. So again, I can also see what you're trying to say here.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I agree with you. Like, it definitely is good for breaking half boards. And like you said, it kind of just like the meta is forever shifting. Like, you kind of have to see what's popular and what's being played because you can't afford to respect every single deck in your list, right? You have to kind of pick 2 to 3 decks and be like, okay, I'm targeting those ones. I think those will be popular, and these cards will be the best against them. Like for example, Widow Anchor against Yummy, not great. Not great,
Mm.
right? Because unless you put them on literally snatchy pass, nothing else, and you can't really Widow Anchor anything.
Yeah, but it's cool if you Fua them. So that's like another, you know, thing
Yeah.
that to take into consideration. I mean, we can go over like the Yummy Mirror match, for example, but if you have, let's say, Ash and Dark Ruler, very often the correct play to do is to not Ash anything, but only Ash the Cupsy, the regular Cupsy, so that they don't get Yummy
Yeah.
Surprise, because Yummy Surprise is what allows their end board to be layered. So Dark Ruler, it's very good against non-layered boards. So that's the reason why, you know, certain hand traps and certain board breakers, they have to be used in a specific way. And Widow Anchor, obviously, it's not going to do anything on its own. But to be completely honest with you, I feel like there is no one board breaker, no one card in the game that will do anything on its own except for Contact C. That's the only card that is practically just a turn skip, depending on how your opponent deck build the extra deck. But with Widow Anchor, again, it will pair relatively well with one other card. So that's still something to take into account. And if you Fua your opponent has like Solemn Judgment, and he just passes on like Snatch, he one monster, chances are your opponent will have to Judgment like your Widow Anchor on the Link 1 or your Imperm on the Link 1, because otherwise, Judgment on the Yummy engine is not that great. You can actually play around Judgment very easily because you can quick Synchro on Chainlink 2 and Judgment will miss timing. And a lot of people don't know this.
Yep.
Exactly, there you go. Okay, so you were aware. But yeah, that's a cool thing.
I was around for Tenpai format, they go battle phase, you go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, and then Synchro.
yeah, there you go, the goat. But yeah, back to Crystron. The card I was talking about with the fact that Yummy has a really tough time against this deck is the existence of Clockwork Knight. The fact that they can search a floodgate that basically just honestly wipes the floor with you. Like it really is that rough. It really is that terrible.
You guys are now machines. Sorry, no more Snatchy for you.
No, the disrespectful part is that they all lose 500 attack and defense. They're all naturally weak, and then your monsters gain 500 attack and defense. Like imagine, like you can normal summon Ash, and then your opponent can normal summon Cupsy.
Ash Blossom, at best they can crash into it with Cookie. At best.
At best, bro. At best, it's terrible. Swear to God, because their minion. It doesn't boost the attack of your monsters for each Yummy on the field, for each Light Beast. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk about for the Yummy mirror match. Yo, if your opponent has 5 Yummies on the field, in attack, let's say, and then you have minion, your opponent doesn't, your monsters all gain like 5,000 attack.
Yep.
It's never gonna come up.
Real big.
It's crazy. Yeah. Anyways, moving forward to the next deck, we've got Malice. What do you think of Malice?
I think that this matchup specifically is very like dice roll heavy, because I don't think that Yummy can play through the mouse board. Like even like board breakers, they're not breaking the mouse board. It's 2-layered, right? You have your field, now you have your graveyard, and then you have like your spells and traps, and your the spells and traps of Malice are so like low value to like use like a Harpies on. Like if you have Thrust for Harpies, right? I wouldn't want to do that. It's like 1 banish that they can chain to, right? They can even like chain banish your Harpies. Now that's one less spell in your graveyard. Like that actually like sounds like it whatever, but it actually comes up. It actually matters.
Mm-hmm.
And then the graveyards, the banishes, and then the last thing, the biggest resource of Malice is their hand, bro. They have 5 hand traps in their hand, because during their turn, if you're playing board breakers, you didn't stop them at all. They drew 3 cards, right?
Yeah.
They drew 3 cards in their deck where they play 21, 22, 23 non-engine, right?
It's overwhelming.
And so, yeah, it's overwhelming. So then you have to play hand traps, right? And if you play hand traps, and then they have the extender, like somehow they play 23 non-engine, and then they always have the extender. Because the deck, all the extenders are like, there's not too much overlap in like normal summons anymore, because all the cards are semi-limited, right? So there's like 6, 7 normal summons. Every other card in the deck is an extender. So like going second into Malice is really tough, but honestly, like it's always been tough. It's gonna be tough for every deck.
Mm-hmm.
But Malice going second into Yummy, they also can't break your board, because like Book of Moon against Malice is so crazy. It's really funny how like Book of Moon against Malice when you go first is insane, but when they go first, it doesn't do anything, right? Because now they all turn into big link monsters. You can't book them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you book their normal summon, it's like GG, because that's gonna be their only Malice name that won't have used its when banished effect, right?
Yes.
And then if all their extenders like hair, bestials, whatever, if they get another name on the field and then try to use the bestial or whatever as an extender, they can't replace the mouse name, because if you pop it, for example, with a Croaky, right? They try to bring it back. Okay, now it's already been banished. Like they can put their extender on the field, but the name is gonna be banished. So it's like, as long as you book the normal, obviously like always try to book like 2 cards if you can, but booking the normal, popping the extender, and then surprise bouncing the last 2 cards, there's no playing through that one.
I was actually gonna ask you this question: if your opponent normal summons Dormouse and you got like the setup to double Book of Moon, do you like immediately try to just Book of Moon just the Dormouse, or do you like wait until your opponent goes Dormouse effect, banish like White Rabbit, Chessy Cat, whatever, revive back, and then you chain summon the double Book of Moon guy, and then book 2 cards so that your opponent like, well, first of all has less space on the field, but also kind of have to waste like 1 Malice effect.
Yeah, I'd book it there. they have to waste, like you said, waste the Malice effect. Even if they get to a trap, like I'm gonna book them in chain to the rabbit. The great thing about Malice for Yummy too is the reason why it's harder for them to break the board is because all their effects start two chains, right? So they go Dormouse effects, right? And then you chain and you bounce and you summon two guys.
Yep.
Then they go effect of the guy in banish. You can like bring synchros off synchros for free against Malice. Like if you have a synchro in your grave, right, which you usually do when you start your opponent's turn, you tag out into a synchro, and then that synchro can also tag out just because your opponent every chain like is in succession, right? It's not like just one chain, then we might take an action. It's chain, and then action. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Yep. That's a great point. And also, I was gonna say, I guess the only way you can kind of get punished by holding your Book of Moon for later is if your opponent just banishes the hair and then goes like Link one and then summons the backup Ad Ignister and then starts making SP and then you wait for too long and it doesn't work anymore. This is like the one way it can backfire. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, general rule of thumb, you should kind of be fine if you just hold it for honestly, if you don't want a headache, you can just Book of Moon immediately right away, and 9 times out of 10 it should be enough. Like, think of all the dead cards that they would have. Like, the only live cards really would be the field spell, which honestly I can deal with. It's fine. I don't even need a negate for the field spell. I just need one monster pop, which is a joke to say because, again, exactly as you mentioned, every single time they do one action, they perform two chain links to allow like all of your cards to just like respond to them, and it gives you a lot of control over the game state.
Yep, totally.
Awesome. So that's it for Malice. I feel like everybody has kind of like the same experience. We're going second. You just pray that the RNG is on your side, and going first, I mean, usually you're fine. If you don't lose to like hand traps all too much, and fortunately for Yummy, that's the case. Now, okay, we got two decks that are pretty much almost the exact same, so we can kind of just go over them at the same time. We got Riseal as well, Riseal Mitsurugi, I suppose, or like Riseal Gagaga, whatever, as well as pure Mitsurugi. And I'm gonna say this right now. I think the scariest thing for the Yummy deck is Murakumo, and I think you can agree with me on this one.
Ameno. He's a scary guy.
Yeah. Yeah, this card's annoying, especially if they're Regeki. I mean, again, everything that Regekis, whether it's like this, the Vanquish Soul Trap, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. So,
Yeah,
what's like your
yeah,
solution?
no good.
No
Please
bueno.
don't wipe my board. I like my board. I guess we can start with Riseal real quick, just to like put it to a side because I think that Mitsurugi will be like more of a conversation.
Mhm.
The Riseal cards, they're like whatever. To be honest, like a detonator, if you have a B in school, like detonator, like whatever. Is this guy 3 pops? Okay, I put up 3 bodies and then I have 4 cards in my hand still. And like detonator is super easy to board break, right? Just like
Yes.
droplets, talents. We're
Engage
playing
into
board breakers,
Wicco.
great. Yeah, it's the Widowmaker, exactly. Crossing Gate may be a little bit annoying, but should be fine.
Mhm.
Anyways, so now into Mitsurugi, right? Mitsurugi, Amino Rageki, right? Yummy doesn't like when their whole board is interrupted at the same time.
Mhm.
Like non-targeting removal, that's why Yummy is like, no, please, no. Right? And then it's also hard to like droplet an Amino, imperm an Amino when they can just
Prayers.
dodge it with players, right? Like you'd have to like droplet send a spell, and if they have any sort of like quick effect monsters, you gotta send a monster too. That way, or actually they could always chain Amino. So you have to send spell plus monster. They have to have 2 monsters. Otherwise, they go chain Amino, chain prayers. Right. So there's that. There's also the fact that you know Herald, it doesn't have as much value on your end board. Like it's still in the gate, which is great.
Mhm.
But let's say now they're playing Mitsu Raziel and they have X Raziel and they go X dump aggregator on Herald, right? Then you're like, okay, well the X is gonna die. I'm gonna stop it. And then they go all their ritual stuff and they summon Amino, and now you can't stop that. You
Do
get board wipe.
do you feel
So it's
like it?
actually, I
Yeah.
think this is a match. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you feel like it's the one deck that actually has a chance to like naturally crack the Yummy board going second?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Like if you open Haba X, I don't know how we're stopping that.
Hmm.
Right? Like they go X stump aggregator, stop the herald. Now you have to use all the following chain links to arrive to herald number 2. You
Hmm.
have to use their chain links to tag out summon Lollipo, Lollipo summon 2 back, tag out summon 2 guys. Use like the hard 4 bodies to make, or in the 3 bodies, the synchro 2 and two level 1s, to make a second herald, so that you can actually just negate the ritual spell because it's that scary.
Yeah, but pure Mitsurugi might be even scarier to some degree if they just, go for a second ritual spell or something, right? They've got like,
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah,
the
right.
problem,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like negate ritual spell. You're like, okay, I got another
Again?
one. I can search another one. I got pre-prep. You're like, whoa, 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 not pre-prep. No,
Yeah.
please, come on. What did I do?
Yeah, it's like Yummy sometimes, like if it gets baby hand trapped, like Ash and Perm, all those cards that are not too great, it's in a good mood. But when your opponent has like the nasty engine cards that are just like super aggressive, exactly as you mentioned, pre-prep, the Mitsurugi stuff, it gets overwhelming. Like this deck can't deal with like too many Regekis, especially if like the Regeki is chain blocked. Murakumo chilling 1, everything else chilling 2 and 3. Like you always have to stop the source and not like the end result, and that's, I think, really problematic for Yumi. So if we're gonna see a resurgence in, not even a resurgence, but if we are going to see one of those two decks the most into this format, into like YCS Vancouver, which one do you think is going to be the best pick as a meta call?
Um, so my issue with pure Mitsurugi is that I don't think it does enough into other decks.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Into Yummy, it actually does look really, really good. But into other decks, I don't think it does enough. Doesn't have enough like versatility. In the engine, it's literally just Murakumo Turbo. Whereas at least Riseal Mitsurugi does like attempt to do more things, and it still has a good matchup into Yummy. So I think that out of those two, I would still probably want to play Mitsurugi Riseal. Now the interesting thing, right, is there's two versions that exist. There's the NA version,
Yeah.
which is Riseal Mitsurugi, and then there's the European version, which is Riseal Mitsurugi. Right,
With
if that makes
pre-prep.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No prep, yeah, no cross. You're literally your Riseal cards are just like they can make detonator and they bridge you back into your Mitsurugi engine. I do
Exactly.
think that that version of the deck is pretty cool. It all depends on like how popular of a card Nib is, because that deck does play into Nib a little harder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without cross obviously existing in the deck. So I think it all depends on like how popular Nib is, but like Nib does seem to be pretty bad into these new decks, right?
It's pretty
But people
awful.
are still gonna play Nib. Like I'm not gonna lie, I go to an event, right? I like at Nats. I cut Nib from my deck because I was like Nib is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then the first like 5-6 rounds, and I had a 2 round bout. So this is until like round 8, right? All my opponents played into Nib crazy, and I
Uh,
was like, I was looking at my hand, and I was like, it'll be worth it, Julien. It'll be worth it. Don't worry. You're gonna make it to top cut. They're gonna stop playing into Nib crazy. You're still gonna win. I had to like convince myself, I had to convince myself. I had to be like, it's okay. Don't be mad right now. Just stay focused.
I love it. Yeah. No, yeah, I've been through the same, of course. But yeah, no, exactly as exactly as you said. Reizo Mitsurugi. I mean, yeah, this deck is still a thing, and then pure Mitsurugi, whatever. Exactly as you said as well. It's not great enough against the other decks. It's a deck that really thrives off of just activating a spell card that does a lot, and then using Impulse, which is broken. Which is also very
Mhm.
broken against Yumi. So if we have to worry about Impulse, there is Malice as well as Pyramid Sugi. And what a coincidence. These are the two worst matchups almost for Yumi, depending on the context. So, yeah.
Yeah, the impulse decks. Yeah.
Yeah. Another Impulse deck, and this one we're not going to take too long for it because there's really nothing to go over. Lunalite. All right. So it's hand shop or bust. If you are on the board breaker build, your only board breaker options would be Salesman as well as Herald of the Abyss, so that you can call Beast Warrior, well, Dark Beast Warrior, or Salesman, you call Lunalite Liger Dancer. And the way you have to win is that you have to go normal summon Lollipop, shuffle back the Hound, so that the Respell and Trap Negate is turned off, and then use your board breaker, and then you run over the Liger Dancers. There's no other out to Liger Dancer, and you will lose. You will die every single time. I've never seen a single Yummy player make a comeback through Liger Dancer, because if you're not extremely stupid, you're not gonna use it as an early interruption. Herald of the Arclight doesn't affect you, so you just use it for battle phase, and it's a wrap every single time.
Yeah, if you're the Lunalite player, yeah, you just hold until they threaten it, right? Because the only way they can do that is summon like 6 guys. They have to have 6 guys, right? 6 guys, because The highest one is like Lollipo's 1200. So if they have 5 guys, how big is Liger Dancer again? It's 38.
Yeah, 38. This one has 16, so it has to
Yeah,
gain
15.
25. If it gains
Yeah,
25,
15
it
5
becomes
guys.
41.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, you put 5 guys on the field at once.
Regeki.
That's juicy. Regeki. Yeah. It seems like it's funny, right? Because we keep saying like all these all the Regeki decks are good into it, and then we're like, well, so why aren't we playing Regeki? Like, I feel like someone's gonna be asking. No,
Oh my
someone's gonna be
god.
asking that, right?
I
So
know.
I can explain that.
It's not the
I can
same
explain that one.
it's not the same context, but go for
Yeah,
it.
Herald negates Regeki. Bang. Right? At least Dark Ruler, like it does the same thing as Regeki in a sense. Like, okay, it doesn't destroy them, but it turns them off, which is cool, right? And then it also turns off Herald. And you don't need, people are obsessed with finishing the game on like turn 2. You don't need to do that. You just take control of the game, establish your engine, turn off all your opponent's disruptions, but it's like you're full comboing. It's like they put, rather than starting their turn fresh, they actually use resources from their deck that they no longer are gonna have to have, right? Like you Dark Ruler them, you're gonna remove all those resources. You can banish them if you're playing Malice, White Binder, kind of nice. Banish their field spell. So yeah, you're gonna remove their resources. You don't have to kill them. Like it's okay. Break their board, establish your board, and then they're gonna start their turn with now less cards in hand than they would have like turn 1. So
Yeah, exactly.
no Regeki. Regeki's bad. But if a
Regeki, not
card
worth it.
monster that says Regeki, that's really good. That's the lesson from today.
The Regeki has to be a trap that you use on, like, your opponent's turn. Like, before there's a Herald. Like, it has to be a quick effect Regeki.
Yeah.
That's, like, the theme with Liger Dancer, Murakumo, the Vanquish Soul trap card. They're not normal spell cards. Normal spell cards nowadays, they have such a huge disadvantage. They have to be like Dark Ruler. They have to be unrespondable or unnegatable. That's, like, the main reason why a lot of people, what are the most popular board breakers, Julien? Dark Ruler, Droplet, Super Poly, Metal Chonus?
Yep.
What's the
what's
the pattern?
Thrust, because they can't be responded to. Yeah, like I want my cards that say just like make all your stuff useless. Where you can't say no. Yeah, I don't want you to say no. What the hell?
But yeah, exactly as you said, Thrust, of course, being able to just be flexible, right? So if you main deck Thrust,
Yeah, I was gonna say sometimes your opponent when you thrust, you're like, oh yeah, I'll just like thrust is activate once per turn. If I negate it, you can do it again. So I'll just wait to see what you add, and then you add Dark Ruler. And they're like, shoot, I should have stopped that one.
Zut alors. By the way, speaking of Thrust, what do you think are the best Thrust targets against Yummy? If you're going first, again, I guess back to like the Yummy mirror match. This video has like no real structure. We're really just going through like everything in order, but sometimes going back, to older decks that we've already kind of reviewed.
So I think that people would think that it would be D-Barrier, right? That wouldn't make sense. Stop synchros. However, I like my Thrust to be a blowout card when like I'm down bad, right? If I like full combo and then activate Thrust, or like make mostly a full combo and activate Thrust, like I'm chilling, like whatever. The Thrust target could literally be in perm and probably still win. So I need my Thrust target to be useful for when like I open Dormouse only and you lance at me, right? And I'm like, oh no, this is not good. So what does Yummy like rely on? Or it relies on Snatchy. Is there a card in this game that says don't summon Snatchy?
Oh.
Yeah. That dude laughs. You activate. What does Yummy do? They literally have to kill you. Like they have to like Cupsy add the field spell, make like Link Spider, like they need everything to go right for them, and you have 0 disruptions. But then if they can't kill you, which again, like Loki, I'm thinking through the line. It's not like impossible, but it's very hard.
It's really hard, yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard, right? If they don't kill you, what do they do on your turn? They don't have Snatchy.
Okay, so look, normal summon Cup C, search the minion, activate the minion, and then they gotta make Relinquished Anima, summon all 3 Cup Cs from the hand, and then they all gain 15, right? And then they go Yummy Surprise, revive back the final one. So they always play into Nib every single time. You can have Thrust and Nib, you win, and that loses to any one disruption. So exactly as you said,
But
if you're
that's also like a 5 card hand, right? They need to have those exact 5 cards. Was that
well,
all
to be
three
fair,
names?
they can make
But
the
that was
cup C
6 cards.
synchro. Yeah, yeah. They can make the cup C synchro to
That was
search
6
two of
cards,
them.
but they had to play to plus. Yeah, yeah, they can make a they can make one synchro. Yeah,
And then the
to
minion
search
can
two of them.
revive
Yeah,
back from the graveyard, so they still have like some plays, but it's not the best. It's really not the best.
yeah, it requires like way too much for it. For like if you have literally like a gust of wind, you can stop them from doing that. So I definitely think it's back last. And so like I guess I didn't fully explain why D-barrier is like not that great. Is because you D-barrier them, they summon Snatchy name, they go your turn. Now they full combo on your turn, right? So it's like
Mm.
this one turn floodgate's not enough unless it's a one turn floodgate that says no more Snatchy. Like we're gonna keep that guy out of here, and then like you should be okay.
Now, the other thing that I wanted to say is that when you are losing not just for on your own turn, you're losing on your opponent's turn, and then you're losing on your follow-up play. So you're losing on turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3. Dimensional Barrier, it saves you for turn 2, it stalls you a turn,
Yeah.
but then you're back to being miserable. With Black Gold Laughs, that's not true. Black Gold Laughs is pretty much like breakthrough skill from the back in the days. So you save yourself on your opponent's turn, so turn 2, but then on turn 3, it's back to being good again. So that's like one really cool thing. You can call the Yummy Snatchy on like draw phase or standby in case they make a half board. Well, I mean, no, okay, that's not relevant. But whatever, you get what I'm trying to say. You can call like Cookie or whatever, like it's like the cookie synchro so that they can't double book of Munyu. Either way, like you can call whatever so that they can't use the effect on the field. And if you top deck out of it, then you're playing through the half board that your opponent made. So Black Gold Laughs, I actually think, if anything, it's one of the best rust targets by far in the entire game. Huge fan of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's better than D-Barrier this format for sure. Um, for example, like I think you play this card in your side deck because you can always just like toss it in against any deck. I mean, it's literally as generic as it gets. Call a name of a card.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you can
they have
almost call
double.
Murakumo. Against like the non-pure build, you can call Murakumo, and
Yeah,
it's really
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
they don't play mirror.
exactly. And then of course against
Mm-hmm.
Lunalite, you can call Liger Dancer, but that's not real.
Yeah, another deck does nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and finally we've got two decks, Memento as well as Sky Striker. So we can go over Memento now, and I'm gonna say right now this deck is an FTK deck if it goes first. So it's hand trap or bust, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like pair of dice. You know how happy I am that at Worlds I don't have to worry about that card. A guy like me, low key, my opponent summons that guy, I'm winning the die roll. Like, I mean, I'm losing the. Yeah, I'm rolling low. You know what I mean?
Yes,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
I'm rolling snake eyes.
You're
A
rolling
guy like
snake
me
eyes.
always be rolling snake eyes when we're high rolling for like who gets to go first. So like, what's gonna stop me now?
Yeah, not for sure. Yeah, Paradise Smasher is one heck of a problem, especially in Memento, because they can naturally make it. So even if you're on the board
Yeah, they
breaker
make it
build,
easy.
oh, super easy. It's like Tatsuno Toshigo, Akiron, and anything. It's a
Another
joke.
another tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
so true.
now you can play canine cards. Like people were making this card before the canine cards. Now you have like now it's like if you hand trap them, they can also probably still make it because of Izuna.
They can make
So
it
it's like
easier.
yeah, they make it easier. You're like, oh, thank you. I now get Izuna Lupus. Okay,
And actually,
give me my
speaking of
third flag.
which, all the K9 decks, including Memento, I suppose, so Vanquish Soul, Crystron, Memento, whatever, if you have hand traps, obviously you're going to Worlds, you don't care, but how are you approaching the I guess, the possibility of, like, Paradise Smasher being a problem for you, but also, like, how are you planning on making a good enough half board through Paradise Smasher, and, like, can you think like really like far ahead? Like, okay, I gotta make like this kind of half board. I can't use any effects. I can't attack, but I can still do all those things. Do you have like a list of all the things that you can still do?
Yeah, so as Yummy, it's actually not like the worst case, especially in the list that I play, which is like a combination of hand traps and board breakers, right? So you hand trap them. Let's say like you hand trap them and you get punished by the pair of dice. Like you hand trap them, you stop their combo, but then they're like, okay, you know what? Pair of dice, like win die roll and then now go. So if you can like use your board breakers to prevent them from disrupting you, and then literally like two Yummy names or obedience school. Yeah, two naming names or obedience school gets you to just or I guess obedience school and a name. Yeah, gets you to just like your half board, right? Which is just Snatchy plus name on your opponent's turn.
Hmm.
So you just like you end your turn on guys. and then you're like, okay, go. I guess yeah, no, obedient school works because you just go link one, make synchro, make link one again, and then pass on that, and then just like force them to interrupt and like interact with you there. But yeah, so you literally just pass on the half board. Like the yummy half board is name plus snatchy, and then from there you have access to literally everything. You just summon guys. Just
Yeah.
pay 100, pay 100, pay 100. Actually, there's something funny that shout out to Lucas Sacco for telling me how to out psychic and punisher as yummy. Do you have any idea how to do that?
Crush your monsters until you have less life points, and then you destroy it.
No, that's too easy. That's too easy. Okay, so if you use Lollipo to reborn Snatchy, and then you activate Snatchy's effect until you have less life points than your opponent.
Wait, what?
Because so Lollipo, the synchro monster,
Oh,
negates
no
whatever it summons
way.
back.
Oh, you gotta be kidding
Yeah,
me.
and then
That's
you go,
wild.
yeah, you go effect. You just tell your opponent like I like to use the effect 37 times, right, or whatever, like how many life points you gotta pick,
Yeah,
and then it's smaller, and then you out it.
that is wild. I actually love it. This is completely irrelevant. It'll never come up, but I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, completely irrelevant. Yeah. But it's kind of funny. So had to throw it in here. That's the secret goo. If you ever play against Punk, there you go.
Oh man. Oh well, there we go. Let's time to add Punk to the. No, I'm just kidding. That deck isn't playable. Yeah. Finally, we've got Sky Striker. There's also not much to say about Sky Striker, huh?
Not really. I mean, it's just Sky. Hey, I mean, we're playing Sky Striker too. We can we can link up with them. You know, maybe like, hey, I have engaged, you have engaged, like. But yeah, no, I don't know. This deck doesn't end on like the most disruption. It's like a very low,
Low to the
low
ground.
ceiling,
Yeah.
like yeah, like high-ish floor. You know, um, but like I guess the good thing that this deck can do against you, like for them, is they can probably they have an easier way to break your board, just because our disruptions again are like towards monsters, and they have like ways to dodge that. They like summon straight up link monsters so you can't book them. But so I think they can play through our board like not like pretty well, right? But I don't think it does enough. Like they play through the disruptions and then they end on like nothing, and you're like, okay, my turn. Minion, summon six guys, battle phase game.
That's the thing, right? It's like this deck feels a little too fair, especially if they just draw a bunch of board breakers. Are you actually trying to make this deck go first post game one?
Um, yeah, honestly, I could play like that's the nice thing about Yummy. Yummy is like
Very flexible.
Tenpai in disguise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like Tenpai in disguise, right? Yeah,
Yes.
like Loki, I was saying that about Malice before too. Malice is Tenpai in disguise. Like going second, if I can actually like
Yeah.
reduce my opponent's board, I break it, and you're always dead. You're never living to the next turn.
That
You
is
know.
true. That
Same
is
with
true.
Yummy. Yummy is put up like hella big little cats. Like
Eh,
boy, these guys have 4,000 attack each.
yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, you can that's true. You can say the same for all the one card combos in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh. They're all ridiculously degenerate. I guess Riseal is the deck that is like
Yeah.
probably the worst into like one single hand shot, because if you droll, they're definitely not OTKing you. But like if
Yeah.
you with Yummy, you don't care. Like there's pretty much like almost no one card that's gonna like make you survive. It's really tough. Like they're at
Like
least
Nib is like the only thing.
yeah,
Nib's the only thing.
that's it. But like they
Sky
still
Striker
make
can't
a
play.
half board. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll make a half board through the nib, but at least they won't kill you.
Mhm. Yeah. And also, I just feel like Yummy is very well versed against Sky Striker overall. Like Lollipop shuffle back the spells, shuffle back
Yeah.
Ray. That's kind of scary. And it allows like the cookie to actually be relevant. But then the cookie synchro to double Book of Moon on Ray is pretty useless. But on Rose, it's useful. And then like
Yeah.
you're getting ridiculous follow up that I simply do not think that they can deal with. And you can also destroy like one speller trap if you're playing a mini Croaky, which again that's
Yeah. Very good.
that's up in the air. But yeah, I think in conclusion, we can kind of agree on the fact that for Yummy, the Malice, Mitsurugi, Malice, Lunalite, and Vanquish Soul matchups and K9 matchups are very dice roll. Like it's not even a question of like good or bad. It's just like you gotta win the dice roll. If you win the dice roll, it's in your favor. If not, then it's pretty rough. And then the decks that are pretty unfavorable for you practically at every moment would be Mitsurugi, as well as I want to say Lunalite is very tough for Yumi. So these are like the two most dangerous decks going to this deck. I also think Dragon Tail is pretty good against Yumi.
Yeah, Dragon Tail is a tough one. Yeah.
Very tough, yeah. And then the easiest matchup here for Yumi would probably be Sky Striker. And then Memento is like it's not a real it's not that it's not a real deck. It's just that it's an FTK deck, but it's like okay, if I win the dice roll, I can make enough disruptions and be good. But it also kind of has like
Yeah.
the same vibe as Mitsurugi, where it cracks boards with engine, which is kind of scary.
Yeah. To me, Yummy feels I'm gonna say like Malice, which isn't like necessarily true. It's just in the way that it can play so much non-engine. Its strength is that if the format is narrow, it should be well positioned because you can like adjust your non-engine to target decks, and then when you have like 20 non-engines that are all good against the meta, like every single meta decks, that's really strong. Like that's how I felt about Malice last format, right? Last format, it was literally Malice and Mitsurugi Riseal, which it was for like I don't know how long, but that's why Malice is so good because you can pick like I had all this non-engine that was targeted to beat those decks, and then when I was playing them, I would always draw like 2 to 3 of the right non-engine because I didn't have any wrong non-engine in my deck. So
Mm-hmm.
same with Yummy, you can play so many cards, and now we talk about it, and we're like, oh, like this many decks like have a favorable matchup against us. The other decks are dice roll. Like it doesn't seem like we have that many favorable matchups, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
that Yummy would strive more in a narrow format where even if our matchup's not favorable, we can afford to play 20 non-engine. Vanquish Soul K9 plays six, 6 to 9.
It's not a
Like
lot.
that's it. Literally,
Yeah.
literally.
Ash the
Like I'm not,
Bestials
I'm
day
not, I'm,
through.
I'm not kidding. 6 to 9, right? Like
Mm.
that's as many. We play more than twice as many, right?
Yep.
18, 19, 20. Um, so yeah. So again, in a narrow format, I think this deck would thrive a lot more because you can just like nitpick the decks you're gonna play against. Be like, oh, this card kills you. This card kills you. This card kills you. Like yeah.
100% agree.
And
But
that's the issue with like the new set being released and then no ban list is we're in this like we're in this purgatory of formats, right? Where like everything exists at once, but then soon they won't. So yeah.
that's true. Yeah, it's a weird format, huh? But I think this might be kind of good for Yummy right now, just because, like it still plays some decent hand traps against like Riseal and stuff, and it's just like it has a naturally good matchup against like the Riseal portion of the deck. But again, like some of the older decks, they're still annoying. And also, as you've said, if we go into like a more narrow format with like less diversity, then Yummy can afford to be more specific with like the non-engine cards that it plays, which obviously is always in the favor of the decks that have the most non-engine space. It's just unfortunate that this has to be a purge deck and not an impulse deck, because otherwise I think
Yeah.
Yummy would have been like, oh, at the top, you know?
Yeah.
Bro, why couldn't they
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
dark? Look at them. Like, doesn't this look like the devil? Like,
They could be maybe in the future they'll be like the evil Pepsi monsters, you know? They'll be dark.
oh, that'd be
They're like these
nice.
evil cats.
And then evil Snatchy pays like gain 100 life points as a cost, and then synchro summon during any phase.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, for this segment. Do you have any last words? Do you any not before you die, but like before this video ends?
Whoa. You setting people out on me? What's going on here? No, I think that was pretty much like all my thoughts on it. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below. So we filmed this one, put them on my channel, talking about the yummy matchups. Next, we're gonna do a video on Yacine's channel, and so go check that one out. And we're just kind of gonna make a series out of this, just ranking the matchups for each deck. Yeah. So yeah, thank you, and go check out Yacine. Bye bye.
Peace.